Hey, welcome to Pastor Point here at LifePoint Church. It is I, Nathan Bentley, alongside Pastor Blake Wilsford, and we are here to sit down with you for the next few minutes and talk about peace. Not like a piece of cake, but P-E-A-C-E, peace. And both of us are just a few days off of the LifePoint family camping trip, which happened over the 15th through the 18th of June. And we go to Big Lake in a spot that has no cell service at all. And so we both went just about 4 full days without voicemail, social media, phone calls,
nothing.
emails.
Yeah.
And it got us thinking. First of all, it's wonderful. It's funny. I know some people miss it or are anxious. My brother was at camp this year, and he talked about being anxious for where a stock price was because it was coming to the end of the week, and he
Oh my
what was going to
goodness.
happen.
Yeah.
So some people feel some anxiety about it. I know there's like one little tiny rock you can stand on where some people will go and try to get a signal to download email. But what we really want to talk about, and what we both sort of noticed through the spring and into the summer here, is we both stepped away from social media. We've pulled it off of our mobile devices. We've both stepped back from being connected on any of the things that the rest of the world is staying connected to. And so we thought, let's talk about it. Let's talk about peace. Let's talk about the peace that often these things can rob from us. And maybe you'll connect with some of it. Maybe you'll disagree with us. But we're going to share sort of what we feel with it and tie it into how do you wander in the wilderness and seek the rock that is Jesus Christ, seek the water, the refreshment, the honey that pours from the rock, and not get trapped into our modern American idol of technology and connectedness. So
Yeah.
No,
it's a great topic. I mean, the busyness of life it's such a difficult balance to find. You know, just life and work and relationships and all these things that you're trying to do and accomplish, and on top of that, trying to figure out, you know, your relationship with God. And it seems like it always is a constant battle of one, just trying to find time to connect with God. And if you don't have that time because your life is so busy, you push him aside because you're in the hustle. And so, yeah, on the family camping trip, when we didn't have cell service, I immediately was filled with peace, where beforehand, leading up to the trip, we actually, as a family, kind of had a conversation, and our 3 boys who were in high school ended up not going on the family camping trip with us. So there was this worry and anxiety of like, my goodness, we're going to have 4 days, no service, and here they are back home, and they're trying to manage their busy schedules. They've got summer school and sports and friends and all of these things, and it's like, my goodness, how do we pull this off? And so we try to plan and prepare and put everything in place, and driving up, it's like, okay, like, here we go, you know. But those 4 days away and no service immediately was filled with peace. Like the work went away, everything went away. Began to trust God that he was protecting and our boys, and they were able to handle the things that they needed to handle. And then came back home to busyness, and each thing that grabbed me, even if I was trying to like push it away, each thing that grabbed me, it felt like the peace would escape piece by piece, no pun intended.
Yeah.
And so I'm back in that spot. It's like, gosh, how do I find and maintain that peace between a simple and complex life?
Yeah, I think one of the things you said there, which was good, is when you hit that spot heading up to Big Lake where the cell phone goes out, and you know, okay, for the next 96 hours, I won't have contact for anybody to get a message up to me here. They'd almost have to drive up and come looking for me.
Right.
There's a certain amount of trust that you then place in the Lord. You know, we talk about what does it mean to trust the Lord all the time. And I still feel like living in the society we live in the technology and the comforts we live in, we still don't know what it is to trust. But when you hit that no cell signal, it's like, all right, Lord, I trust you. I trust you with my boys. I'm not going to be running every, 6 hours out to see if I have a message.
Right.
I trust you. And that's one of the things that Asaph, the writer of Psalm 81, talks about, is that wilderness. They're celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles, which was the Israelite people's time after their slavery in Egypt, where they're wandering in the wilderness, and it was meant to remember God's goodness. And so whenever we go up north, there is that bit of that wilderness experience.
Yeah.
Not amongst LifePoint people totally. It's more like glamping, seeing as how 90% of the people have a camper. But if you ever get away from the campsite and you drive out and you either go on the hike, or we went way out and found this part of a river that you had to get back into, you really do start to sort of get that feeling and understanding that if the car won't start, or I hurt my leg, that we could be in some serious trouble out here. We're going to be in a place where I no longer can just, with the press of a few buttons, have emergency personnel here and have everything taken care of. I'd have to really figure out some ways to survive and some ways to trust the Lord. And for me, that's what that time without a cell phone, without social media, has been. I so filled my time up with it, and with the demand to respond, especially to congregants' emails, voicemails, Facebook messages, Slack messages, all of these apps where people can reach me. And if you don't respond within minutes, there's sort of a feeling of being slighted. If you don't respond hours, there's offense. And if you, heaven forbid, take a day or so to respond, now there's real deep offense.
Right.
Whereas in the wilderness, that's expected, and I'm going to trust the Lord has my family taken care of. He's got me taken care of. And I'll be honest, I am falling more in love with that piece of just, I miss out on certain events. I miss out on tragedies in the congregation. I miss out on significant joyous events in the congregation. And it's days later I'll hear about it and they'll be like, oh yeah, we posted it, but I'm not seeing it. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, for me, there's a tremendous peace and a deeper reliance on the Lord to meet the needs, not just of myself and my family, but of the people around me that He's given me to shepherd. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me and my wife, Lindsay, recently spent a lot of time just researching the effects of social media, just really trying to understand, because there's plenty of research out there now. We've had social media now for about 20 years or so, and our boys they continue to ask, can we have this, can we have that, can we have this, more and more apps on their phone. And so we had to sit down and research it, because I'm not a fan of social media. I don't have them on my phone. Either does my wife. And so we did the research, and it turns out that the negative effects from social media and all the apps, and just spending so much useless time on these apps, because there are benefits, right. But spending so much useless time on these apps has such a negative impact on your life, from depression and anxiety, loss of hope, all of these things. And this is research that we did with secular research, yes. People who make the apps, right? And just saying, yes, the negative impacts far outweigh anything positive. And so, we take a look at that, and it's like, so why are we doing it? Why are we spending so much time, useless time, engaged in something that we think is useful? And you're right, it takes away the trust, right? Well, if I'm not on here, I'm going to miss something, or I'm not going to have the information that I need. Well, why don't we just trust God with our lives and what He's got planned out for us? And yeah, I'm feeling the same thing. I experience the peace when I take that approach. Yep. When I actually turn off the apps, not on social media, even turn off the TV, right? And sure. Everything that's technology, and just sit and be still and listen to Him, spend time in the Word, spend time in prayer. It's maximum peace. Yep. And when I'm not doing that, like I said, the peace begins to flow out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said something good there as well. You said, I don't know why, but why do we allow ourselves when I know it's bad? I know it brings anxiety and depression. And the answer is as simple as it's easy, right? An app and spending time, and they've made it. It's been specifically designed. If you haven't sat and watched The Social Dilemma or Social Dilemma 2.0 with your kids, 100% make a date of it with your kids, set it up, put it on the calendar. It is incredible. It's not an agenda-driven thing. It's just here are some straight-up facts about social media and what it's doing to their brains and how it's programming us. But what they go is they have executives, former executives of these companies, that it's designed to be easy. We all know that if something's easy,
we love easy.
We go towards it, right?
We love it.
If it was easy to have a perfect body, we'd all have perfect bodies. If it was easy to have a master's degree, we'd all have master's degrees. It's not. It's not easy to trust the Lord. It's not easy to sit and find peace in Him. And so these apps, even though we know it's bringing anxiety, depression, it's stealing time away from our kids or our spouse, it's just so darn easy. And it's so comfortable. It's simple to give it to the kids, and now they aren't bothering you. But before you know it, now you're lost into it too. And so I again want to be very, very clear. I'm not bashing technology, social media. Even the app that this talk will be on is great. The question that I have been really putting before my kids when they ask is, can you discipline yourself? The answer is no. They're not going to be able to. So if they can't see me discipline myself on social media, they sure aren't going to be able to discipline themselves. So I have to take social media and any type of electronic app or mobile app, and I have to take it from being something that's easy to being a discipline in my life. Right? And that's hard now. So now something that was easy, apps and all the stuff apps give you at your fingertips, I have to intentionally turn it into something hard. So I only get this much time. I will only look at these things. I will only listen to this many podcasts. I will only get on Facebook for 5 minutes. Here's my 5 minutes. I'm setting an alarm. I do it twice a week. This allows me to catch up on my feed, see if there's anything I need to touch base with. And I'm now going to make something that was designed to steal my attention and my loyalty, and I'm going to purposely make it difficult. That will allow the benefit of apps and social media to serve you rather than you serving them. And when your kids see you doing that, right, and they see, oh, mom and dad have discipline. Mom and dad don't just sit and spend all their time on the couch scrolling through things. Now they're starting to learn how to use apps for as they get older. And that's what we're beginning to do in our house. That's why we watched Social Dilemma. Me and Christy right then and there said, we'll take it off our phones right now so you can watch and see. And it's been one of the healthiest decisions we've made as a family in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything can be used for good or bad, right? Money can be used for good. It can be used for bad. Relationships can be used for good, for bad. Same with social media. It can be used for good, and it can be used for bad. There's a lot of ministries that use social media, even here at LifePoint. God understands. God already knew that social media would be in place, and we would be connected globally. Right. And I love what you said. It's about being disciplined, and it's about setting up boundaries, and ultimately trying to find that balance of being unplugged while in a plugged-in world, because you can't always be camping, right? You can't always be in a spot where there's no cell service. You're going to be in a spot where you have access to everything. And so it's just going to God and say, God, help me unplug while we're plugged in, and pray that He honors that decision, and pray that, God, I don't want to miss opportunities, right? I don't want to miss news that I need to know, but I'm going to trust in you in these boundaries that I've set up, because I want your peace. I want to trust you, and I want to be in your will. And I think we're just so distracted of trying to do so much, trying to be so busy, that we're completely missing out on a lot of the blessings that God wants to give us and wants us to receive. And I think some of those blessings are peace and joy and happiness and our ability to trust him.
Yep.
And I think we lose that in a being so plugged in and so distracted.
Go back to Psalm 81, right? Which we talked about when we started this. It's about the Feast of Tabernacles. It's remembering the time of the wilderness. It's remembering that when they had nothing and they cried out and said, we'll go serve another God, whatever. We're about to die out here. And Moses goes on their behalf and he provides the rock in the middle of the desert. And a rock provides shelter. A rock provides, it'll hold in the heat at night. So if you're in the middle of a desert at night, which can get freezing, you can get up near a rock or inside a cave and you'll stay warm because it holds the heat and it provides shade in the day. And so the whole point is, so he strikes the rock and water comes out of it, life-giving water. Now, what's really amazing about the story is that also honey flows from the rock. Now, it could be understood that water flows, right? Waterfalls flow over rocks. Water will pool on a rock.
Right.
It's a place where water can go, whereas sand, it will just go right through and be gone, dissipate. But honey comes from the rock. And the real beauty in that analogy and the understanding of what God was teaching the people is not only if you come to me, will I give you the sustenance to live, but I will also give you the sweetness of life, right? So often we feel like, man, if I put down the social media and I have to strain and discipline, that we're really going to struggle and it's going to be hard and it's going to be a decision that we, like having to eat lima beans for every single meal. Like, oh, I know it's good for me, but it's going to be terrible. It's not. It's the honey coming from the rock was God showing that not only will I bring you life, I will bring you the sweetness of life, the good things of life. God will replace what we have put as an idol in our lives and in front of our children. And he'll say, I'm going to give you something that actually sustains.
Right.
And is sweet and is good, and you'll love it. You'll be joyful for it. And that's the major lie of technology, is that we need it. We need it to be happy. We need it to get the job done. We need it to operate and be in charge of this church. We need it.
Right.
No, you don't. We don't. We use it because it's available to us, but we don't need it. I need the Holy Spirit. I need God to uphold a desire for him in me. These are the things I need because I can't do that on my own. But I don't need the internet. I don't need to have the AC on here. What we would find is we could make it and we would be okay and we could still worship. And in fact, the worship would probably be greater because we would be forced to suffer while we were worshiping, which would then, I've talked about this, but draw us into that fellowship more.
Yeah.
So I think what we're trying to say is, if God is putting it on your heart this summer, or if you've had any of these feelings we're talking about, maybe do something like this. Maybe you do something where intentionally you go to your kids and you say, hey, your TikTok's cut off, your Instagram, Snapchat, whatever they're using, and we're going to do something a little different as a family. And see that it doesn't provide health. See that it doesn't provide less anxiety in your teen, right?
Yep.
It's a challenge. And so we do want to challenge you to do something in that, not just for you. Maybe you need to start so your kids see you leading by example, but ultimately be the bad guy to your kid, right? Be the one who says, hey, this is why we recommend the video. Let them watch it with you so they realize you aren't just trying to ruin their lives, that you're for them. But I think what you'll see is not only will it sustain you, it will be sweet for your family. It'll be good. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought is teach your kids or people that you're in a relationship how to be bored again. Yeah. Let's learn how to be bored. When me and Lindsay, when my wife, we were up on the camping trip, we just had our 2 chairs outside the RV, and there's activities, a lot of things going on, but for hours we were just sitting there looking at the wilderness. And you'd think, well, how boring, but yet we had amazing conversation. We saw wildlife. It was peaceful. And so maybe that's something that we can do, is we can learn how to be bored together. We don't have to be filled up with all this stuff. And maybe in those moments, God will come in and really speak to us, and we'll be able to to listen in that boredom.
That's awesome. Learn to be bored again. That's an excellent word.
There we go.
Well,
Learn to be
today's
bored.
Pastor Talk, as always, was brought to you by Lady Boss, Christian footwear for a Christian woman. It will make you feel powerful.
Confident.
Confidence. I'm going to say that again. Powerful.
Confident.
Confidence. And of course, your original sponsor that has been sponsoring LifePoint Pastor Talk from the very beginning, Behringer Tools. Behringer Tools for all your needs. This is a Behringer phone. It's made by Behringer. It's got their logo on it. They designed it and all the technology within it. So Behringer Tools, we're thankful for your sponsorship. And we'll see you at the next Pastor Talk.
Take care and God bless.